Very good morning to one and all present here, all the panelist member and today's speaker and our mentor, Dr. Selvamurthy sir, all the participants. And so to start this first lecture in this year 2022 of Cancer Biology Cluster Lecture, so with the blessings of Honorable Founder President Sir, Honorable Chancellor Sir, respected Vice Chancellor Madam, and under the mentorship guidance of Dr. Selvamurthy Sir, this cancer biology cluster is created and it's been running since last 2 years for to work on the cancer related areas. And today in 2020, to the first webinar we are organizing under this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav lecture series. 75 lectures will be conducted in this lecture series. So this is the first inaugural lecture of this Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav lecture series. So today we have the speaker, our mentor, Dr. Selvamurthy sir, and sir will be talking about the role of yoga in cancer management. Uh, so before I invite Dr. Amit Pandey, he's a faculty at Amit University, Gurugram, to formally introduce our today's speaker, Dr. Salamurthy sir. I would like to mention that in the panel we have Dr. Ajit Nagpal sir here. He is a senior mentor. He always provides us guidance, mentorship, and we have another panel member, Dr. Ujjaini here. Dr. BC Das sir, he will be joining soon. And so before I invite Dr. Amit, may I kindly request Dr. Ajit Nagpal sir to say a few words about this program and today's lecture.
Thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me to participate in this very, very critical, important event. In fact, what Dr. Silamurthy has said that yes, we have to propagate the the science of yoga across the globe, and not necessarily for treatment of cancer, but also for happiness. So it has so much to be. It's a science which is very well recorded now, and its outcome has been actually seen across the globe. So, speaking on the issue of this subject of interest of cancer control and management using yoga is a very, very significant aspect, and I'm myself looking forward to listening to every word of it and imbibe the value of yoga, which I practice very significantly like others. Looking forward, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your kind words. And now may I kindly request Dr. Amit Kumar Pandey to introduce our
Speak.
speakers.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Dhruv. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this first webinar series of 75 lecture series of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. And it gives me an immense pleasure to invite Dr. William Selvamurthy, who is presently working with MIT University as a president, MIT Science, Technology and Innovation Foundation, and as a Director General for MIT Directorate of Science and Innovation and Chancellor of MIT University, Chhattisgarh. So Dr. Selvamurthy has served Defense Research and Development Organization DRDO for 40 years, in which all the health related and life science related technologies were developed and inducted in the armed forces for keeping the health and efficiency of soldiers even in extreme operational environment. His R&D contributions include development of life support technologies for soldiers, nanotechnology application for defense, and interestingly, application of yoga for the armed forces, military psychology, and others. He was also the leader of the first Indo-Soviet scientific expedition to the Arctic Circle for the polar physiology research. He superannuated from the DRDO in 2013 and joined MIT University. He is presently the member of Scientific Advisory Committee to the Cabinet, particularly in the field of life science, including health research. He is also a member of the high-powered committee appointed by ICMR to review its 12th plan proposal and chairman of the Technology Commercialization Committee of ICMR. And not only that, he has also published more than 250 research papers in journals of repute, including 18 books. He has been a member of the Indian delegation to the World Health Assembly under the chairmanship of Health Minister to speak about the complementary systems of medicine, including yoga. He has also represented our country at the Organization for Provision of Chemical Weapons, at the Conference of State Parties, Executive Council, Working Group, and Confidentially Commission. So, in the recognition of his significant contribution to the biomedical research and development, he has been awarded a number of prestigious research awards, including CSIR National Award for Science and Technology Innovations, presented by Honorable Prime Minister of India, Academian Mircea Mirakhimov Award for Contribution to High Altitude Medicine from Kyrgyz Republic, Technology Leadership Award by DRDO, and Lifetime Achievement Award from the Honorable President of India in the field of clinical and preventive cardiology. And also he has received ICMR Sakuntala Amirchand Award and many more in his kitty. And so now I would like to welcome Dr. Selvamurthy sir to please give a lecture.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Amit Pandey. And very good morning to all the participants who have joined us today at the first webinar in the 75 series of webinars, lectures, which is being organized under the Cancer Cluster, Amity Cancer Cluster, under the leadership of Dr. Dhruv Kumar and his team, ably guided by Professor B.C. Das. So on behalf of Founder President, Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, and the Chancellors, Dr. Atul Chauhan and Dr. Sim Chauhan, and all members of Amity fraternity, I have great pleasure in welcoming all the participants who have joined us today on this platform as well as on the YouTube who are watching this program. So let me wish you all a very happy, prosperous, healthy, peaceful, harmonious new year ahead. May God bless you with all happiness, peace, and all good things you desire. Now, this 75 years of independence, if you look, India has achieved tremendous success in many domains, be it in food security, health security, energy security. In all this, we have been able to achieve tremendous success. A begging bowl when it was at the independence, now it's a bread basket. We can even export food products and food to other countries when they require it. Not only self-sufficiency, but we were able to export when the other countries need. Similarly, in health sector, at the time of independence, our lifespan was only, average lifespan was only 37. Today, it is almost close to 70. Almost doubled. Then see, also look at infant mortality, maternal mortality. Tremendously, we have brought down to a level. Today, our country is able to make vaccine in 1 year. So these are all the tremendous, vibrant achievements in health security. So many hospitals, doctors, and but then the diseases are also increasing. That's a big concern. So we are able to achieve many things in health security domain as well. Then when you look at energy security, today almost most of our villages are also getting electrified. Every house is getting electric connections. And so in every sector in 75 years, if you look at space, we have achieved, we can launch 104 satellite in one launch, which no other country has done. So with minimal input in space technology, we are making SLV, ASLV, PSLV, GSLV, lunar mission, Mars orbital mission, you name. So these all happened in 75 years. This is not a long period for a country. Similarly, when you look at defense, we are able to make our own missiles, Agni, Prithvi, Akash, Nag, Trishul, BrahMos, interceptor missile, Shaurya, Astra, so many missiles. And BrahMos is getting exported now to Philippines. We have signed the agreement. So today you see, we are making 4th generation fighter aircraft, which is Tejas. We are making main battle tank Arjun. We are making radars, sonars, torpedoes, arms, ammunition. Self-reliance in defense technologies is increasing. So you see the vibrance country is today. So 75 years, that is why we should celebrate success. We should not look at how much empty the glass, how much full. You should look at how much full the glass is. We have achieved many things with all the constraints, problems, having been under the colonial rule for a long period. Still, we have been able to achieve. That is our power. That is an Indian intellect, the capability of an Indian intellect, and Indians are this. And then, how do we make this happen? This 1.38 billion people to be healthy. What we need to do, and if they have to be asset, what we need to do first is their health. They have to be healthy. Then only you can get higher education. You can get occupation. They can be productive in occupation. So this is very important that we must ensure that our 1.38 billion people are healthy. That is why this lecture. That is why this cancer cluster and Amity University has chosen this. How do we prevent disease? Rather than looking at treatment after getting into the disease, can we prevent disease like cancer, which is one of the major causes of death today? Similarly, can we promote the best ability of a person, individual, promote you? And can we also cure certain disease through our traditional knowledge? So this is because you can't build tertiary hospitals everywhere with 1.38 billion people living in high altitude villages. So we need to focus on preventive aspects of health, prophylactic aspects of health. This is where the traditional system, lifestyle, attitude, the way of living, everything is going to bring that change. So I'm going to highlight one aspect which you can consider is yoga. And I will focus mainly on the scientific aspects because many things are known about yoga, philosophical aspects. It's good for raising your consciousness and so on. But then I'm going to focus in the first lecture, in the series of lecture series, which Amity University, our Institute of Molecular Medicine and Stem Cell Research, headed by Dr. Professor B.C. Das, and under the dynamism of the drive engine is Dhruv Kumar for this cluster, which is doing extremely well. This is the first cluster we established. Dr. Ashok Chauhan, the founder president, said, how do we bring synergy within Amity Group? We have experts in different 11 universities, 18 campuses abroad. How do we connect these talents together? So the cluster emerged from our founder president and suggestions that we should unite, bring synergy of brains, unite together, connect with each other. So mission connect, mission synergy led to the cluster. So this cancer cluster is doing extremely well, and we are hopeful that we will deliver many deliverables, product, technology, processes in the field of cancer through this cluster. So cluster is just not only to connect, meet each other, to give solution to the problem is the cluster. So I'm grateful to Dhruv and Dr. B.C. Das for selecting me to deliver the first this lecture of this lecture series. And I hope I'll be able to meet your the expectations. Now, let me start my PowerPoint presentation. Can you see the slides?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see it.
So the topic I chose, that can yoga support in control and management of cancer? The reason is I was delivering a lecture. I have delivered a number of lectures in yoga because that is, I have been doing yoga for the past 45 years. So I have the experiential learning on one side. I have done a series of research studies in the prophylactic, promotive, curative potentials of yoga through a very well controlled physiological, biochemical, psychological, clinical research studies which I have done. So I am going to share this experimental learning from the series of research work and also experiential learning of having practiced it for more than 45 years every day. Every day. This is important, regular. Now the cancer. Can you see the second slide? Is the slide moving all right? Right.
Sir.
Yes, sir, it is moving.
Okay. It is the second leading cause of death globally today, next to the cardiovascular. Now, this is the major cause of the death. So we should be worried about this. So we should prevent cancer. We should manage, control, and manage the cancer properly. And today, 19.3 million new cancer cases. That's huge number. This is just 2020. And women and men, they have a separate the patterns in terms of the incidence of the types of cancer: lung cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal, stomach, liver. This is much more prevalent in men as compared to breast, colorectal, lung, cervical, and thyroid cancer. So these are all more prevalent in women. So when I look at the causes, the etiological factors, there are both genetic as well as epigenetic factors which are responsible for the cancer etiology. So the cancer mutation and also the differentiation, when the cell differentiate proliferates, uncontrolled proliferation of cells leads to cancer. And the apoptotic process getting attenuated, and you get cancer. Immune system, if it is not proper to identify, efficient enough to identify the cancer stem cell and then scavenge it, then it can lead to cancer. There are many things like tobacco, lifestyle related, like unhealthy diet, lack of physical activity, malnutrition, and chemicals in food, plastics, plasticizers, and all this can lead to. There are many others. I have picked up a few to show there are many epigenetic factors which can trigger cancer carcinogenesis. Similarly, some of the drugs and advancing age is also could be another biological factor, and UV radiation, pollution, viruses like human papilloma virus, which causes cancer cervix. So there are numerous factors which can trigger cancer. So how can yoga provide as a complementary system, support system in prevention, control, and management of cancer? Now, if you see the incidence is growing, so I don't have to say more that everybody knows the problem of cancer. It is more prevalent in women. If you see the statistics today, it is 94 per 100,000 population is the projected incidence. But in women, it is 104, almost 104. So you have 10, 10 per 100,000 more in women. They are more susceptible. So to be worried. And in India, the cancer cervix as well as cancer breast has become a very important factor. One in every two women newly diagnosed with breast cancer, they die. So 50% mortality. So these are all very, very high incidence as well as things to be worried. So how do we look to keep our people healthy, not to get into such problems? Can yoga help? Yoga is a holistic science. I will say science and art of doing. And how we can harness the potentials of this, that is what I'm going to deal with. When I looked at the literature, large number of publications related to cancer is available, including a few studies which we have done. In the literature, I'll show you some of them in the next slide. So how it can help, the research indicates in cancer patients, it can reduce the inflammatory changes. It can reduce the fatigue. The cancer patients undergo fatigue tremendously, and also the chemotherapy will make them almost getting exhausted. So they have looked into reducing fatigue, reducing the stress profile, the perceived stress, anxiety, depression, and also related to that, the stress related disorders and the lack of appetite. And all this can be improved. So it reduces all that stress related manifestations and the mood, including the mood disturbance, which can be ameliorated by yoga in cancer patients. Then it improves your physical functioning. because that is also very important, not only in healthy people, but even in the cancer patients and cancer survivors, that you will be able to, through yogic practice, that you will be able to keep your physical functioning, sleep better, your sleep quality, both REM and non-REM sleep, which are important for your physical and mental well-being. This can also be controlled. This improved, the sleep quality can be improved by practicing yoga. And recurrence can also be minimized. Once you have the surgical breast cancer, for example, you have the surgical removal, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, then to prevent the recurrence, you can again use yoga as the adjunct therapy. So it prevents the recurrence or minimizes the chances of recurrence. It also boosts your immune system. In fact, we did a study on this. I will show you the CD4, CD8, NK cell, PHA activity we measured on cancer patients with the people who are given meditation, social support. How did it improve? I'll show you the data. And then also create a quality of life and positive attitudes, which is very important to improve the quality of life of these patients. So these are the literature. I'll show you some of the references which are there. You can look at complementary alternative therapies. Do they improve quality of life for women with breast cancer? These are all published. I have picked up a few to show that it is not just only presumption and assumption. There are scientific control studies, randomized control studies available on yoga in cancer. But we need to do more. We need to do more. And like at the molecular level, cellular level, and epigenetic level, how does yoga bring these changes? Genomics, proteomics, lipidomics, metabolomics studies are also required to understand the mechanism. How does yoga, which has been shown to improve this, what is the mechanism at that level? So we need to carry out research in these domains. Now, scientific perspectives in cancer with regard to yoga, which you can see the recovery from surgical effect, shorter hospital stays. These are all the studies outcome. I'm not going to individual studies, but the present literature indicates your hospital stay after surgery can be minimized when you practice yoga, meditation. Fewer days with surgical drains, and also fewer days before stitches were removed. So all these are very beneficial for the cancer patients. And also side effects due to chemotherapy, which is very toxic. These are chemotherapeutic agents are highly toxic. So it brings better balance of life, less risk of fall, so that your orthostatic intolerance gets minimized. And also mental health benefits like negativity, negative emotions, anger, guilt, and such things can be minimized. Then the anxiety, depression, all this can, and the self-esteem. Because once you have cancer, your self-esteem goes down. All this become better when you practice yoga. So this is what the literature says, scientific aspects, how the cancer patients can be benefited from the application of yoga. Now, what is this yoga which we are talking about? Yoga is mentioned 5,000 years ago in our ancient literature like Vedas, Upanishad. It has been referred. So yoga is our ancient Indian culture, which is claimed to give the better quality of life, as well as the better the performance in terms of cognitive, and your purpose of the janma itself proven, and also is realized by practicing yoga. Now, what is this yoga? The Patanjali is the father of Yoga Sutra, who compiled all the Yoga Sutras and made it. Even though yoga started 5,000 years ago, the compilation happened only through Patanjali. And it has got the meaning of yoga itself, to yoke, to unite, to join together, to bring harmony between mind and body. So the first benefit one can accrue through yogic practice is the physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, or social well-being, which is the definition of health as per the WHO. So it can give you first the health. The next step is it can elevate your spiritual existence and consciousness. It can help you to achieve higher consciousness. and ultimately the realization of the self. So this is what is the purpose of yoga. The first step is the health, ensuring proper health. There are various sects of yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. So let us focus on hatha yoga, where asanas, pranayam, and meditation come in as the aim. And even in the Ashtanga Yoga, you have Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. These are all the 8 limbs of yoga. And when we adopt this and make it as a lifestyle, what all benefits we can accrue in prophylactic, promotive, and curative aspects of health. This is what I'm going to show the scientific evidences in all the 3 aspects. How yogic practice can prevent disease like cancer, how we can promote your best potentials to realize all your dormant Kundalini Shakti, the latent talents available, how it can express and manifest, and it can also be curative in certain psychosomatic lifestyle disorders, stress related disorders, and can it be used as an adjunct therapy even in cancer to ameliorate the other problems related to cancer. When you look at prophylactic aspects, not only cancer, you name any disease, it can be attributed to any one of these 5 factors. The lack of exercise, because our body was evolved to be physically tough. Our ancestors were living in mountain, jungles, caves, facing the vagaries of the climate, running away from the predatory animals, hunting for the food. So our body was tough, but with our modern living, it undergoes disuse, atrophy. We don't use these. We don't walk. We don't run, and we don't exercise. We don't stretch, flex. So all this help to lead to the problem. Lack of exercise, sedentary living is one of the major factor, including cancer. Yet one of the major factor. Your lymphatics will not function properly. Cardiovascular, respiratory, metabolic system, all these will work only when you exercise. So every one of you who are attending, please keep 30 minutes to 1 hour for self-care to maintain your good physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. You should spend for yourself. That is an investment. It is not a waste of time. Where is the time? This 1 hour is going to make that 23 hours of that day is going to be beautiful. So please ensure this. So lack of exercise is one factor. Dichotomy between mind and body. Mind does one activity and body does another activity. Like morning, all of you had breakfast. How many of you really looked at what are you eating? Chapati with flavor. Oh, it's so dal is very tasty. And how many of you did that process of eating? Your mind was looking at mobile, food was going inside your mobile. You are looking at mobile and the food. Physical activity is food, mind activity is mobile. Ultimately, it leads to hyperacidity, peptic ulcer, irritable bowel syndrome, dyspepsia, constipation, because your mind is not involved. So when I see today 100 people died due to COVID, what kind of saliva secretion will come? But when I see chapati, what is this? Saliva is already secreted. That goes inside, lubricates and neutralizes your acid formed in this to some extent because it's relatively alkaline. But if you see 100 people kill, where will be the saliva secreting? So it will further stimulate the acid secretion because of the sympathetic activity. So this is dichotomy between disharmony between body and mind can create many disease. Stress. Everyone faces stress of some kind or other. But then how do you manage your stress? Stress can be etiological factor for a disease, including cancer, or it can be a precipitating factor if you have a genetic predisposition to cancer, or it can aggravate, stress can aggravate the disease. If you have a cancer or hypertension or diabetes, it can aggravate. So stress can be etiological, precipitating, or aggravating factor. Pollution is yet another factor because we are surrounded by air pollution, water pollution, soil pollution, contamination in the food, pesticides. All this can cause disease, including cancer. Organophosphorus compounds can lead to cancer. So the infection, we have fungus, we have bacteria, virus, and all this toxins can cause disease. So you name any disease, leaving away genetically transmitted disease, you can attribute to any one of these 5 factors. Yoga is prophylactic against all these 5. Let me tell you. The first is yoga is a total physical, physiological exercise. It tones up flexion, extension, rotation, pronation, supination. Everything is there in yoga. So it's a total neuromuscular, musculoskeletal, as well as cardiorespiratory toning up, and kriyas, which will cleansing, remove the toxins, and reactivate your lymphatics to drain off the wastages, the toxic materials, and take it away. All this will happen when you exercise. When you do yoga, it is a total exercise. It even massages internal organs in abdomen. Like Nauli Kriya, when you do, you are massaging pancreas, liver, kidney, spleen, everything gets massaged. So that is yoga. So yoga has been designed to be a total exercise. And then it also, it takes care of the first factor, which causes disease. Second factor is dichotomy between mind and body, in which yoga, when you do, even if you make a small movement, you are instructed to be conscious of that movement. So your mind is involved in the process of movement. So it brings a harmony between body and mind. Suppose I drink a glass of water, my mind is fully involved in the water, getting into lubricating my esophagus, getting into the system. So this is yoga. Yoga is not half an hour practice of asanas. It's the way of life is yoga. So it brings harmony between mind and body. Whatever you do, you give lecture, you fully unify your thought only on that lecture. That is yoga. Skill in action is yoga. So yoga is a way of life. So it brings harmony between mind and body. Third factor is stress. Stress, you cannot live in a stress-free environment. Only maybe sadhus and rishis living in caves. Others, they're renouncing everything. They may have attained. They may also have some level of stress. So, but then stress management is very simple. Normalize your perception, optimize your reaction, and release the stress as quickly as possible. Very simple. This is stress management. That is, you have to realize that every Atma, we are in an Atma journey. We have come with our own karmic account, sanskars, values through Janmas. So our Atma has brought all this. So our success, everything is determined by many factors. But what is with us is how do we give our best in whatever we do. Skill in action, perfection, excellence in action is in our hand. Do that. That is what the karma yoga teaches. Don't look for fruits. If I do this, what will I get? Then your energy get dissipated. Focus on perfecting your action. So this philosophy comes in life. Life is eternal. You are eternal. So why are you worried about death or any failure? You continue. Your journey continues. So this normalize your perception. Optimize your reaction. And also normalizing your perception is you accept everybody as they are, every situation as it comes. So this is acceptance rather than expectation. So this will relieve the stress. Second aspect of stress management is it optimizes the reaction to stress. Don't overreact, don't hyperreact to stress. Optimize your reaction. Then release the stress as quickly as possible. Yoga helps in all these steps. Because of the parasympathetic tone, because of your mental tranquility, it optimizes your reaction. It releases the stress as quickly as possible. So you come back to pre-stress level as early as possible, minimizing the damage due to stress. So it helps in stress management. Fourth is pollution. Body has got detoxification mechanisms like liver, kidney, spleen, reticuloendothelial system, cilia. All this can take care of pollutants to some extent. But yogic practice strengthens these detoxification mechanisms available in our physiology. Then the other important part is infection. We cannot be living in a infection-free environment in a class 10,000 facility or a BSL 3 facility. We have to live in the normal environment. So we have to protect ourselves. So body has got, we have been blessed with cell-mediated immunity, humoral immunity. This can be strengthened by practice of yoga. So this is what our science shows. So yoga is prophylactic. Yoga is promotive. It promotes all your potential, body flexibility, cognitive functions like concentration, memory, learning efficiency. And it also helps in stress tolerance, increase the quality of life. So it is promotive. If I have been able to be successful to some extent in life, it's because of yoga. I was never hospitalized in my 72 years, never admitted to hospital once in my 72 years of life. I don't take medicines for diabetes, hypertension, or peptic ulcer or insomnia or anything. So I don't take medicines, except even I got COVID, but I came back quickly without getting admitted to hospital. I was able to manage at home safely. So these are the things advantage through my own experiential learning besides the experimental learning. So please, it has curative potential as well as preventive and promotive potential. It can be an adjunct therapy. Now I'll show you the performance improvement. All this I'll show results, and lactate threshold increases, muscular performance increases, physical performance increases. I'll show you the scientific data for this. Now let us get into the scientific aspects, scientific experimental data, which I have done with my team. So here we selected two groups. One group practicing physical training, 100 soldiers, and 100 soldiers practicing in place of physical training, yoga. And there is another 100 where yoga was supplemented to physical training. So we were looking at the physiological, biochemical, psychological, and clinical variables. We measured them when we give such kind of batteries of asanas, pranayam, and meditation for 1 hour every day. And then we measured these by using your brain function, sleep profile, respiratory functions, physical performance on a bicycle ergometer, treadmill, then put it in different environmental chamber to expose them to thermal stress. How do they behave before they were inducted to yoga? And then during 6 months, every month, what are the changes happens in these physiological and psychological performance? So I'll give a little glimpse of the data. So this slide, don't go into the details. What it indicates, the heart rate slows down. This is the initial and then of 6 months. So initially the basal heart rate was, let's say 68. It has come down to about 60. So in 1 minute, the heart now takes rest for 8 times. So it beats 8 beats less as compared to what it was when they were inducted into yoga training at the initial stages, first before induction into training. So this is parasympathetic, the balance between sympathetic and parasympathetic shifts towards parasympathodominance. This is what is shown in blood pressure, and every function comes to the lower side of the normal range because all our physiological functions have a range of normalcy. So instead of being on the top of the normal range, you are at the bottom. So you have a greater buffer to react. The wear and tear in the system will be less, and that is how yoga is conservation. Yoga is parasympathodominance. Your breath rate comes down, but depth of breathing increases. So it's a better way of, economical way of breathing. This slide shows your heart rate variability spectrum between sympathetic, parasympathetic, which I mentioned. It brings towards parasympathodominance. Instead of being sympathetic, it shifts, the parasympathetic dominance comes in, thereby leading to conservation of energy and optimizing your reaction to stress, releasing the stress as quickly as possible. Similarly, it brings mental tranquility. This is indicated by the alpha index of electroencephalogram, which is an indicator of mental tranquility. So after 6 months of practice, your alpha index goes up, indicating that mental tranquility, which is seen in this slide, like alpha waves here. This was when they were inducted into yoga training. After 6 months, see this tremendous power in the alpha index of EEG. Then we did functional MRI. What happens when the people practice meditation, yoga for 10 years, 15 years, like me? So this was done on the Raj Yoga meditators, we found that the prefrontal activation happens in the people who practice yoga. Occipital. So even if you keep your eyes open, there is an occipital activation as well. This is important, prefrontal, that the prefrontal cortex have got very important functions like higher nervous functions, cognition, intuition, decision making. So such functions are there in this. So this yogic practice and meditation practice, it awakens, it lights up your prefrontal cortex ability, the function. The decision making is the first factor for your success. The most primordial factor is how you make the right decision. That will decide your success. So this yogic practice can help you in this. It also improves your body flexibility. We measured using goniometer, the flexibility of the body at neck, shoulder, trunk, hip, all level. You will find from the control to after 6 months. There is initial, after 6 months, there is improvement in all the body flexibility in different joints. So this is very important to keep the suppleness of the body. Then your lactic acid buildup during exercise, sub-maximal level of exercise. This is the initial, but in the yoga group, after 6 months, see the rightward shift of the curve. The rate of buildup during exercise is shifted to right. That means you can perform the exercise for a longer time without getting into fatigue. Whereas this person would have gone into fatigue right here, but his fatigue will occur somewhere here. So this indicates this is also important for cancer because cancer leads to glycolytic pathways getting activated. So there's a proliferation. Cells are hungry for energy. So they are looking for energy from every source. So glycolytic pathway, lactic acid buildup is there in those people. So this can be minimized because yoga is aerobic. It keeps your oxidative metabolism in the right frame. This is what is indicated in this slide. So this will also help in yoga, the cancer. Similarly, this slide shows yogic practice produces a relatively hypometabolic state. I won't go into the detail. Your anxiety level comes down, which is very important. Even in cancer patients, your anxiety goes up, but yogic practice can bring the anxiety, depression, and also improve your cognitive abilities and also alertness of your mind, which will help in cancer patients as well, which as some of the other literatures have shown this. Similarly, the glucose tolerance, the carbohydrate handling mechanism is very important. So that is also strengthened by practice of yoga. That's what this slide indicates. Then in hypertensive, yoga works through activation of baroreflex, which is there in the carotid sinus, the pressure receptors, which control your blood pressure, phasic variations in blood pressure. That becomes sluggish in hypertensives. So when you practice yoga, this activates your sluggish baroreflex mechanism, which in turn corrects your renin-angiotensin, the catecholamines, plasma epinephrine, norepinephrine, all this get corrected. Ultimately, the blood pressure comes to normal level. So we looked into the mechanisms. Then the other lifestyle intervention experiment, which we did with the Raja Yoga meditation, low-fat, high-fiber vegetarian diet, as well as the regular walking for half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, we were able to cause regression of the coronary artery disease. So this is what is the data I will just show you. We measured many parameters, but I picked up a few like lipoprotein, homocysteine, and also the cortisol, which is a stress hormone, which goes up very tremendously high in these patients, but they all return towards the normal after the practice of yoga. Similarly, the catecholamines came down in coronary artery disease patients. These are 524 patients randomly divided into control and experimental. Control group received the conventional medical management for coronary artery disease, and the experimental group received, in addition to the conventional medical management, the lifestyle intervention. So you find here the serotonin, endorphins, these are pleasant hormones. They go up in this slide that has been shown. Melatonin rhythmicity. Melatonin is yet another, the hormone which regulates your circadian rhythm. So we also found the amplitude is goes up there. But this is also a pleasurable hormone. Then you see the coronary angiogram. In the control group, there is progression of the disease, where you see from here 52.58 blockade became 72 in control group, whereas in the experimental group there was regression. The block of 78.85% became 47.02% after 2 years follow-up. 2 years they have been subjected to this lifestyle intervention, including meditation. 89.19 blockade, 40, it became 41. Then the collaterals, you see the collateral formation here. This slide clearly indicates the perfusion of myocardium improves because of the improvement in coronary perfusion through lateral, the opening up of the lateral, the circulations, arterioles, and perfusion improves. So we hypothesized how it works, the perceived stress, and how does it influence through your sympatho-adrenal axis, your physiological and also molecular cellular level. It acts ultimately, it causes the regression of the disease. So we gave a model, hypothetical model. Then it also improved, your negative emotions get reduced, like anxiety, anger, depression, being self-conscious, impulsiveness, vulnerability. All this you see significant reduction in the experimental group. And with the beginner and the expert, you see the tremendous change with Raja Yoga meditation. And the positive, hope, happiness, quality of life, all these scores significantly improved in the yoga and meditation practitioners. So the positive emotions increased, negative emotions decreased. Now you see the last part of my study is on breast cancer. We did a very interesting study with Bangalore Cancer Research Foundation and Defense Institute of Physiology and Allied Sciences, Defense Institute of Psychological Research, and CCMB Hyderabad. We looked at the psycho-neuroimmunological axis. The perceived stress of an individual through the neurohumoral pathway can influence your immune system. This is psycho-neuroimmunology. So we measured in the breast cancer patients and the spouses, caregivers. So we took them as a system, not just only patients, but we took the patients, breast cancer patients, also the spouses who are part of the system, and the caregivers who are attending on these patients. Then we measured their perceived stress through psychological questionnaires. Then we looked into the neurohumoral axis. We measured cortisol, we measured the catecholamines, blood circulating catecholamines and urinary catecholamines, dopamine beta hydroxylase enzyme. Then we measured the immune system using CD4, CD8, NK cell, PHA. So then we did we also looked at the coping strategies which each patient adopts, like yoga and meditation is one. Then owning the responsibility is another. Avoiding is another mechanism. So we looked at what is the coping style the patient adopts, each patient. Then what is the emotional support the patient receives from the spouses and caregivers. Then we did the multivariate analysis. But that clearly this study demonstrated that the psychological support received by the patient from the spouses and caregivers is very, very significant. So in addition to your surgical removal, radiotherapy, chemotherapy, you need to give psychotherapy. Psychotherapy means the emotional support, the social support, which the patient receives will determine the progression of the disease or prognosis of the disease. So this is the message which this study brought out. It's a very interesting study, which is a multi-institutional study we did, and where we took 60 breast cancer patients and did these measurements. The final message which came out of this is the prognosis was better when you combine the psychological aspects in addition to the physical aspects of your treatment, like surgical removal, chemotherapy, radiotherapy. When you give the psychological therapy, then the prognosis was much better, quality of life was much better. So the final message is we should have this in hospitals. We must promote to all the people to prevent this. Even caregivers should get this yoga. They should know what yoga is. So it should be there. It should become a part of your adjunct therapy. The final takeaways is yoga is prophylactic, promotive, and curative. And it can help in cancer prevention, control and management of the disease, improve the quality of life of these patients, including the spouses and caregivers. But what we need to do is we should understand the molecular mechanism. How does it work? We know at systemic level, we know at the physiological level, and it helps. But how it works at molecular, cellular level, like genomics, proteomics, lipidomics, metabolomics studies, and epigenetic studies, we should be able to see how in cancer it helps to bring this beneficial effects. Then how do we make it as a complementary system based on these studies, which will be both clinical as well as the lab-based studies? So with this, we should be able to make this as complementary system of the treatment, control, management for cancer as well. So let us all promote yoga for a positive health. Let us remain disease-free rather than getting into disease and then trying to treat them. So this is another important message I want to give is let us be healthy always. The final message I always end with the founder president's blessings. He's a man, who is a holistic man. He had a fall and had an injury at the spinal level, and then he was able to manage with yoga, breathing exercise, and also the conventional traditional management. He was able to manage without getting into surgical. Everybody said go in for surgery. So here is an example, who working almost 20 hours a day, and he remains healthy, happy, peaceful, harmonious, calm. So here is a living example, and he also practices pranayam every day. He practices some simple exercises every day and right attitude. So these are all very important. And he says that if India has to become a knowledge superpower and general superpower, first thing is we have to remain healthy, and for which such kind of traditional practice, living good lifestyle, and also believing in God, which is very important. There is something superior power which we should believe. That's the message which I want to conclude by saying that remain healthy, happy, peaceful, productive. Your life is very short. This Janma, if you have some 80 years, and within that you should deliver the maximum. So this is the final message I want to give, and my best wishes for all of you to be healthy, happy, peaceful in life, as well as for your families. Our best wishes. Thank you so much, Dhruv, for this opportunity to share some of my thoughts. And let me stop sharing.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing such a valuable information, scientific information, data regarding yoga and how yoga can help us to manage not just only cancer but hundreds of other diseases. Actually, it's our lifestyle. It should be practiced by everyone. Sir, one thing that government is running, just I would like to ask your views on that. It's a 75 crores of Surya Namaskar, and that's the whole India is practicing these days. And in one of your slide, you have presented sir picture of Surya Namaskar, and I have seen in your office you have also these all steps of Surya Namaskar, sir. And that's what I heard. It's one of the main asanas, Surya Namaskar. It's a kriya of yogas. So, sir, could you please, shed some light on that? How it can help us to manage stress, how it can help us to fight against the disease and several other health complexities.
Thank you, Dr. Dhruv. The first thing is we are proud that our country is propagating yoga at the global level. The International Day of Yoga on 22nd June, and then Surya Namaskar, 75 lakhs performed. This 1 crore, more than 1 crore performed. Just a few days ago, on the 14th of January, at almost the whole country and the global level, more than 1 crore people, 75 lakh was the target, we achieved 1 crore. Surya Namaskar, now we have another goal is set on 26th January. All of us should practice. We should promote Out of this 1.38 billion people, all people should practice. So they have put 78 crores have to do the Surya Namaskar. The Surya Namaskar is a combination of all these asanas, many asanas together, including pranayam, because every movement has got an association of the breathing exercise. And these are all scientifically designed. Say, for example, I'll give Ujjayi Pranayam. Take deep breath and then hold it. Slowly exhale. What you are doing? You are taking lungs full the air to your vital capacity, forced vital capacity. Then you are allowing the equilibration of your oxygen to diffuse into to make the oxyhemoglobin into the hemoglobin, which is the transporter. Carbon dioxide to be delivered into the lung. So you are allowing breath hold, Kumbhak phase. Then you are exhaling all the CO2 and toxins which have come out in the expired air. So this is like pranayam. If you say Ujjayi Pranayam, which is there even in the Surya Namaskar, when you do this, you are breathing deep inhalation and breathing out when you are making that extension. So all this is a science. So your vital capacity, then it removes oxygen debt, it throws out the carbon dioxide, and your pH maintenance of the pH of your system, body fluids and body equilibrium with relate to the pH. So then it's a musculoskeletal, flexible exercises, flexion, extension, rotation, everything is there in that exercise. So that is why Surya Namaskar is one of the comprehensive yoga asana, which can help in a big way. That is why this is being propagated. If you do only this asana, Surya Namaskar, this gives a lot of benefit. And again, a lot of scientific literature is available, including my own paper, where we have measured the oxygen consumption while you practice this Surya Namaskar, what happens to the oxygen consumption, and how much is the cost of doing this asana, energy cost of doing this asana. We have published a paper, and a number of papers are available. What I want to say is Surya Namaskar is a very important asana in yogic practice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Sir, Dr. B.C. Das, sir, the mentor of Cancer Biology Cluster and Dean of Health and Allied Sciences, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Noida, sir is here. So, Dr. B.C. Das, sir, may I kindly request you to share your thoughts, sir, on the yoga and cancer?
Thank you. Just, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Dhruv, and
Yes,
good afternoon to all the participants, and especially our today's speaker, none other than Dr. Selvamurthy, who is our esteemed colleague, and I know he has been whole life. He is a person himself as a the yoga persons, rather. He is equivalent to a yoga. He is a figure who has been practicing for the last 3 or 4 decades or 5 decades. So so he is very much ins and out of this subject, and he has enormous experience in this field, and gained not only the experience, but he has worked on this line for his from starting from his work in the physiology, the medical physiology, and he has used that knowledge in the cancer research also. He has just shown several slides that how it is the yoga can have influence not only many of the health aspects, all the health conditions, including the cancer, to ameliorate. It may not be exactly curing, but it will certainly provide a lot of ameliorating effects, and which people need for their the dreaded disease during when anybody suffers. So that time yoga, but not only having disease and having yoga practice and having amelioration effect, But if anybody practice in the beginning, from the whole life and starting from the childhood to onwards, and as he said that if you practice for a half an hour to 1 hour, whosoever, at least minimum half an hour, the regular practice with some asanas and some the yogic practices. So this will be really will keep you free from many of the diseases, including cancer. And as we know that the this yoga has accepted in the world level, and we are trying to understand that how it, because of the exercises or mental exercises or many other practices that we do, how that all the hormonal and receptors gets activated and how you feel good. And we all know that after doing that, we feel good and we feel very energetic and all. So there must be something secreting, immunological, molecular, and there are a lot of signaling works. And that is where we all are trying to understand. Those who are in this field of working and trying to understand, we have introduced the courses, the BSc, MSc, and PhD program. And not only we, others are also working on. So to understand how it is influencing, it is time will come, perhaps this will contribute in a big way, excellent way. That's why we requested Dr. Silvamurthy to give this this talk, because he is one of the person who practiced whole life this yoga practice. So he is the best person to give this talk, and not only in cancer, but it is a cancer cluster. That's why he has nicely correlated this effect of the yoga, and it's an excellent journey that he had made with this lecture, and I am sure it will be excellent. We do a lot of study and a lot of research, but this is one of the area many of the advanced or the modern biologists or a modern cancer biologist do not like to work on this thing. But I think if we can do some contributions in this line, we will bring a lot of laurels possibly, because we know it is existing for ages in our country. If anything should come, it should come from India. With the modern knowledge, if we look at that, like in yoga, it starts from Om and all these things, but we know it is Om is omics, and which has I very much correlate that it is Om. It is also ultimately round and round, and the modern biology also come to Om. So omics. So I think that can give a lot of information if does the yoga omics study in yoga. So, but then it is a really difficult study to have the control and have the all the variables taken into consideration. But there are some other people also working on this area, very advanced molecular biology aspects, omic aspects. I think people should also interested in this area, and I think this will give you some impression that how we can do excellent contribution in this area too. So the main aim is that to bring something against the cancer, either in the prevention or in the, if it is someone having the disease, that time you bring some ameliorating effects or some the effect. So either prevention or that ameliorating effect. So these both are very important, and that will give lot of solace to the people in the country or world over. So as the yoga has gone to the world level, we should bring something discovery that should go to the world level. We are the person to give that knowledge to the world. So that should be the feeling, and for the humanity and for the society, we can take up that study, but that has a lot of risk. But it has a, if you are successful, I think it may give you the Nobel Prize also. If somebody really concentrate and bring something innovative findings, because many people do not want to work in this field, but we know it works, but how it works and where it works and how long if we do the practice, how that effect comes in. And so these things are very important, and that is why we selected, or rather requested, Professor Selvamurthy to give this talk. Maybe also time to time new generation comes, this talk can be repeated after a year or so that people forgets. So this is a excellent. I must thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Selvamurthy,
Dr.
for your.
Das. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so
so
much.
much. And I could not, I was listening, of course, both, because the PhD selection of the health and allied sciences is going
I
on.
know.
So thank you so much. And you have taken out, and you are not, health-wise, you have some problem immediate before. So, but it looks fine, and hopefully you are all right. And you took
Yoga
that initiative
helps
to
me.
give this talk. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Dhruv and all this organization, and Dr. Pandey and others who are the coordinators, and all the panelists, as well as I have seen that Dr. Nagpal was there. He's a great medical person. So
Yes, still
it's
there.
also all the
Excellent.
medical people do not believe in this, but we have to, in-house also, we have to bring the faith of the medical people also. So they believe in the modern medicine, but this is also a medicine. So our indigenous medicine, and we need to try to bring it to the forefront. So this is what our job, and we need to look
I think Dr. Ajit Nagpal may like to see how we can take it forward in our Amity system by using this research, complementary systems. Dr. Nagpal, would you like to add some your views on this?
Certainly, he should. He will invite him to, if he's here already.
Just unmute
Yes,
the
I'm
mic.
already here.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Nice to see you,
Now,
sir.
cheers. God bless you. Now, definitely, yoga practice for promotion of health, prevention of disease and disability, curative, rehabilitative, based on the scientific parasympathetic effects, has been recognized as a modality of healthcare across the globe. We don't have to go and sell yoga to any contemporary healthcare facility or modern medicine practitioners globally. And therefore, it's a matter of finding a way how we can develop a program which we can share with the best of institutions across the globe, focused on disease and disability of specific nature, and then have these conferences with them, including Mayo's and Cleveland's of the world, and say that can they be also participate in the therapeutics and rehabilitative functions of those patients being treated
Right.
there, and bring them over here at the same time online, so that they can also share their experiences as an outcome of yogic intervention. I think it's the way
It's
that
a great idea to have a global project, which
Absolutely.
bring MD Anderson, Mayo Clinic.
absolutely.
Brilliant idea. So
So
that,
the mission
like
is,
the Project Genome, we will have one yoga for cancer.
Absolutely, and I think it's a very good approach. While I'm assisting C5 on internationalization, in the process of internationalization and bringing the academia on board, I think it's a high time that we should also bring the best of healthcare facilities on board and say and share commonalities with our students, with their faculty and students. And I think I've said enough, but main issue is that I'm much more educated after this session. And while I'm practicing, say, every day I'm exercising, but getting into yogic practice is an issue that I'd like to consider very seriously. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir. With the permission of respected Selvamurthy, sir, if time allows, can we have one or two questions, sir? Because in
Please,
the beginning, sir,
please
you
do
have
that.
mentioned
Because
that
I have to go for in another 5 minutes for this DST
yes,
presentation with Dr.
yes, sir.
Nitin
Yes, sir.
Bhattacharya.
That's why I asked if we have
Yeah,
time.
please.
Just one question, sir.
Sure.
This is from Dr. Resma from AIB, AUP Noida. She has written, sir, you gave wonderful lecture on yoga and aerobic exercise, which we must include in our routine life. What do you think about the impact of anaerobic exercise on human health?
Right. See, both aerobic and the anaerobic processes are important. Like, for example, when you do maximal exercise, your the CO2 oxygen debt which your system undergoes, buildup of lactic acid, pyruvic acid, all this will happen through the anaerobic metabolism. There is always a constant aerobic and anaerobic metabolism happening. And when your oxygenation is not sufficient enough to meet the energy needs, your system shifts towards the anaerobic side. And then this anaerobic, whatever has accumulated, is paid back like oxygen debt, paid back when you recover from the exercise, when you rest, the whole thing is recovered back. And so the anaerobic metabolism is also important, like for endurance. You cannot be all the time through be at aerobic level. Your system shifts towards anaerobic side. So that is why it is necessary. Your anaerobic metabolic efficiency is also important, like your aerobic efficiency. This is what yogic practice also helps to increase. The slide which I showed, the rate of buildup of lactic acid during submaximal level of exercise, the rate is less, the rightward shift of the curve. So this indicates the system tries to keep it at aerobic level for a longer time and thereby minimizing the fatigue. So this is a very important question, that aerobic and anaerobic type of exercise are important. That is why the breath hold which you do, the kumbhak phase in pranayam, as well as when you are doing keeping the pose with the breath hold, that time you are allowing the anaerobic system to take over. So this is what in the yoga itself, there are both the aerobic component where you do the deep breathing and ventilate your system, and you also have anaerobic exercises and the pranayamic practices which helps you to trigger and strengthen your anaerobic metabolic processes as well in your physiology. So both are important.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And so since we are running out of time, so now may I kindly request Dr. Ujjaini to give vote of thanks.
Just unmute the mic.
Sorry for that. So thank you, Dr. Dhruv, and thank you, Dr. Silvamurthy, for giving a very happy and healthy start to our lecture series on Azadi Ki Amrit Mahotsav, this series of 75 lectures. And I'm totally convinced that our participants and whoever listened to you today on YouTube, we are all going to follow the path that you showed us. And definitely from the scientific point of view, we really look forward to finding out the molecular basis of the yogic practices. So thank you, sir. And I hope that in future, not too far, but soon, yoga becomes one of the complementary medicines, and it becomes a part of the care that is given by the hospitals to not only cancer patients, because I'm sure it will alleviate and ameliorate conditions of other medical conditions also. Cancer is just one of them. And so thank you, Dr. Salvamurthy, for enlightening us today. And thank you, Professor B.C. Das, for being our guiding source, our guiding inspiration for the cancer cluster. Dr. Ajit Nagpal, who is here with us today and shared his views. And I thank Dr. Dhruv for being our coordinator, and my colleague, Dr. Amit here. So with that, I think we once again thank our founder president and our chancellors for being a constant source of inspiration and support, because that is the way we are organizing all of this today with their support and inspiration. So thanks to all of you, and I hope we continue with our series with new insights into ways by which
Thank
we
you.
can at least curb cancer, if not totally cure it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ujjaini.
At the
Thank you.
end, I would like to thank Dr. Ujjaini for giving a vote of thanks. And sir, yes, sir, you were saying something?
No, let us keep good health, be happy, and also be productive in life.
Thank you, sir.
There are
Thank you,
miles
sir.
to go
Thank you
before
so
we
much, sir.
sleep. So let us give our best and realize every moment in a purposeful, happy, and healthy way. Thank you. Thank you so
sir.
much.
Thank
With
you.
your permission, shall we close this?
Yeah, please,
IT
please.
team,
Thank you.
please close this session now.